Hi everyone, really good to be able to jump on just very briefly to talk to two things I've been asked to cover, which is behaviour and culture and then tackle height. I have got a couple of slides, so I will quickly just share my screen. If I can find there we go, that's the right one. Kate, I can see you, is that up?
Yeah.
Great. Good stuff. So in terms of behaviour and culture, we've had some in-depth discussions on the back of the season that's just passed. And one thing I would say that this isn't just a conversation in universities, it's broader than that in the whole game. And in discussion with the discipline department, David Barnes as our head of discipline, there has been across the game an increase in disciplinary issues this year. But of course, as ever in the university space, we're keen not to sit back. And we are also, as well as hearing more incidents, we're also hearing increasingly, and we are conducting a schools review at the moment, which many of you might be aware of, more and more examples of people saying, from a parental perspective and head teachers and teachers in schools saying, we don't think that university rugby is a place that our students should be playing or our children should be playing. That's something we're hearing more often, and that's come out in our schools review as well. So we are really keen to do something about that. And as some of you will be aware, there were some particularly high-profile incidents this season, and the showpiece of the game, if you like, in universities, Bucks Super Rugby and the Women's National League teams and universities are really keen to do something about that. And we had a session last week on it, and a real drive from everyone in that room, both face-to-face and virtually, to make a difference to what currently appears to be a slippery slope in terms of some of the behaviour and culture we're seeing. And that's not particularly on the pitch, although there are issues on the pitch, but it's off the pitch in terms of spectator incidents, that there's a real growth in what's happening off the pitch. So it was just to give everyone a heads up, really, that work has started, and it's definitely a really joint piece between SRFU, Bucks and RFU firstly, and also our colleagues in both Wales and Scotland heavily involved in those discussions as well. And so we're looking at ways to increase the accountability of everyone across the game in universities to the behaviour of everyone involved in their university programme, and what we can do about that has more potentially more teeth than anything we might have done in the past, and really demonstrates that in rugby we are absolutely serious about doing something about it. We know it may be an issue in other sports and other parts of university life, but they might be happy to sit back. We're not. We want to do something about it because we are hearing it's having issues and impact on potentially on the future of participation in our sport. So we really need to get onto it. So that work is ongoing. There's some immediate activity which will take place over the next 10 days to 2 weeks, looking at a charter for teams playing in Bucks rugby to sign up to. We would also want that to be something that people would adhere to from a non-Bucks rugby perspective as well. And I think a really exciting piece of work about going after the type of sport that we want to be seen to be. And thanks again to a number of people on this call who are playing a big part in that as well, from SRFU top brass to our colleagues on the call from Bucks as well. So that's in process, and certainly there'll be information coming out very shortly around what that will look like. And also we want to make sure, having just talked about registration data, affiliation to SRFU and registration, etc., we want to try and include that as part of that registration as well, that commitment to creating the behaviour and culture that we want in the sport. So that's a bit of a watch this space, with information to come shortly. The second area that I was going to talk about just briefly, if I can move my slides, is tackle height and the domestic law variations for 2023-24. And I'm sure everyone's been following the development of the tackle height support and the laws, etc., over the last few months. We had a really well attended, and thank you for everyone who did attend, online session with universities last month, and the work that we've been able to do as a result of that, and in the run up to that, to confirm the law and what's available to help people has certainly been really helped as a result of the attendance on that and the feedback we've been able to get. So very briefly, because I'm sure everyone has seen this. This is basically the two graphics that we have to outline the new law, which involves the responsibility of both the tackler and the ball carrier in terms of what we've done in England, and this is similar to some other countries around the world. Not all. There are some differences, and I'll come on to that in a second. But we now have the base of the sternum as our minimum tackle height, and then anything below that is fine. We then have the responsibility of the ball carrier not to dip with shoulders below hips into the tackle, and not to dip late and low as well. And those are the sort of headlines of the law and the responsibility on both the tackler and the ball carrier. We know that in the university game there's been a number of questions around what happens when we do play both cross-border, so an English university playing over the border in, say, Wales or Scotland, and also for those players who are playing across the professional game and the community game. And actually the example that Richard just gave would be one of those, where someone might be playing in the Women's National League, but also playing in Premier 15s week to week. So we've been asked about those scenarios. We've worked really closely with the other unions on this as well, because we wanted to try and make sure there was real clarity for everybody. And we are days away from confirming the detail on it, but we can confirm that the overall approach is that, as we do across the board at the moment, that all matches, whether you're playing cross-border, will be played to the laws of the host union. So if we go over to Scotland and play a game, then that will be played to the Scottish domestic law variations, and that's as we do with scrum law. It happens regularly in the age grade game at the moment with different laws, etc. And that's the approach across all environments, not just universities. So club, schools, colleges, and universities will do that and play to the local laws of that host union. We're putting together a guide, and that table there, hopefully you can just see it. That table does show what that guide will look like. It'll be very much the headlines of what each union, and the Irish are involved. I should have said the Irish have come in to be involved in putting this together as well just recently, which is excellent for those pre-season tours, etc., that do happen regularly between the four home unions. That will cover what each union's got as the responsibility of the tackler, what they've got the responsibility of the ball carrier, where you can find the detailed information for each union as well. So if you are that team going over to play in Scotland, you've got the Scottish hub of information available to you to be able to make sure you're able to prepare, and then what level that applies to as well. So this is the professional / community area. So what are the professional competitions in which the community DLV won't apply, and what we've actually got is a real consistency now across everything from a university perspective. So in all three nations of England, Scotland, and Wales, Women's National League and Buck Super Rugby will all be playing to community law. There won't be any that won't be deemed professional in any of those three countries. So it will be the same as the rest of the community game and the rest of the university game, that it will be played to the host union's community laws. So, and then the final column there is when that's applicable from, which in England, which will be the earliest, is the 1st of July. In Wales, they are just in sort of final process with council, etc., to confirm everything, which will be, then they'll be able to confirm their hub and also the applicable date. And Ireland are in a similar situation as well. But this will basically be turned into a really clear one-pager endorsed by all four unions. And we're working really closely with Andy and Michael from Bucks to look at the communication of that as soon as possible. Again, as I say, in the next few days, to be able to make sure that all universities have got the information about what happens in each country and where the differences will be if they're playing over the border. And then just finally, there is some really good information. We know many directors of rugby and their coaching teams have been there already. Our Tackle Height hub is englandrugby.com/tackle height. There's equivalents of that in Scotland, is up there as well, as per the last slide. That is holding all the information. So our roadmap of how we're rolling out both information and now training. Our tackle safe clinics have started. Over 300 sessions across the country. We have a group of tackle champions who are going to be available locally to support, and a large number of those are actually university based as well. And the sign up is there on the Tackle Height hub as well if you're interested in doing that. So plenty of information, and that does include some great stuff for players as well as coaches and referees and spectators. And we would encourage everyone to have a look at where that information is, and use the quizzes and the detail that's on there. One final plea to everyone around Tackle Height, and I did make this when we were on the call last month, is that the people who are probably going to be in the most difficult position to start with are our referees. And we know many of you have programs where you have student referees as well. We want to really push support for those referees. You'll have noticed on the posters of the Tackle Height graphics, there's respect messages on there, because referees are going to be in a really difficult position, and it's going to be a very easy one to blame the ref. That isn't what we endorse, and we really want everyone to back our referees, who are also learning this at the same time as players, coaches, and those who are sat on the sideline as well. So a real opportunity to back our referees and show that we're a joined up game, and that we still have that respect for them as they're learning to do this as well. More than happy to take questions, if Paddy, if you think that's appropriate. A bit of a whistle stop tour there, but the key really is for people to have a look at the hub and look out for the information that's the university specific information that's coming in the next couple of weeks.